NFC North matchups are always an exciting time, especially too when both teams are so close together in division standings, especially in the heart of the season. That's what we have here in this Week 8 matchup as Kirk Cousins and the Vikings go to Green Bay to take on Jordan Love and the Packers. And I will say the Vikings shocked the world Monday night. I don't think anybody really gave them a chance at all. Even though the 49ers didn't have Deebo Samuel, not having Justin Jefferson is a huge loss to this offense. And Jordan Addison is the real deal. It was a welcome to the NFL type moment. Kirk Cousins is just an absolute beast. I'm glad to see that he's getting the credit that he deserved. And just props to Kevin O'Connell, props to Brian Flores for a great defensive performance. We talked about how that was probably the best offseason addition that the Vikings made because there's a lot of limited additions that they could make cap reasons wise, specifically, also then draft capital as well. But he definitely seems to be turning that defense around. And one thing, and just one stat, I want to make sure that I have this correct here. But they, of all the teams defensively, they blitz the most. Half the time they are blitzing. And I think
sounds about right for Brian Flores.
That sounds about right for Brian Flores. And you know what, too, is if you look at the overall talent on that defense, it's just on paper, and I know that I'm just some fat guy on the internet, but it is that on paper, it's not really that impressive, especially, too, after losing Dalvin Tomlinson and Zadarius Smith. And also, too, out their own, and also losing Patrick Peterson as well. I mean, still big names. I know they're older, and they need to rebuild the defense, but still huge success, honestly, for this Minnesota Vikings defense. Great win over the 49ers. Want to throw it over to you here real quick because I talked a lot about the Vikings. Let's talk about the Vikings here real quick before we move to the Packers and the overall matchup. But what are your overall thoughts on the Vikings so far? Are you kind of surprised with the success that we have seen them have? I mean, now they're on a winning streak now, winning 2 games in a row.
Well, I would say yes. To me, like, they haven't looked great in their wins. Like, while they beat the 49ers last night, I still don't think that they looked like super explosive. The Jordan Addison 60-yard touchdown catch, while it was a great play, was a little fluky. And so, like, to me, like, they're still having some things break their way. However, like, you look at the next part of their schedule. So they have the Packers this week, Falcons next week, Saints the week after that, Broncos, Bears, Raiders. Like, those next 6-7 games are very winnable for this team. And I think we can see them really kind of flip the season on their head after starting 1-4. So that for me, I guess, is surprising that they are making such a big bounce back. But that to me, I think, is the storyline here.
Yeah. I'll push back a little bit. I mean, I think their Vikings running game was about to be expected, which is 74 yards, and Alexander Madison and Cam Akers kind of splitting the carries. But, I mean, Kirk Cousins, that offense, with throwing for 378 yards against the 49ers defense, I mean, that's an impressive performance.
No, it is. It is. And I don't think the 49ers defense looked very good. Like, they just looked out of position and out of sorts all night. But I think some of that was, like, the Vikings. They put them in some situations where they confused them, and they got them a couple times. And then I think they started to question themselves as the game went on. So I give the Vikings a lot of props. I do think still, like, the Jordan Addison 60-yard touchdown was a bit fluky, I guess, like, just the way he took the ball from the corner. Just it seemed odd to me. And let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong on that. But
yeah. Ryan, this is a business. We're trying to get people to like our show.
I know. I just like, and I do think that was Jordan Addison's welcome to the NFL game. Like they looked good. To me, that was the best offensive performance that I think they've had for a full 4 quarters on Monday. I just think that they still had to have a couple things break their way.
Yeah, I mean, I can get what you're saying, but then even if we're looking at Kirk Cousins' performance, he still threw for over 300 yards outside of that catch, and I think that's a fair opinion. But I also still look at T.J. Hawkins' performance: 11 catches for 86 yards. Brandon Powell, KJ Osborne, they combined for over 100 receiving yards. Even then, still, let's take that away. If we take that touchdown away, it still went 6 catches for 60 yards outside of that 7th catch that went for 60+ yards. But then on the flip side, though, then I think it was the best team game I feel the Vikings have played all season, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Definitely make Brock Purdy look like the second-year quarterback that we've all come to see, especially then with a game-winning pick as well. So, but Packers direction, and then to your point, if you're looking at the future here with this game coming up with the Packers, I think the Falcons game is going to be tough, but Saints is winnable. Broncos definitely winnable. Playing the Bears again, who they just beat, and then the Raiders again. You're right. There is that stretch of games here, and then they're going to finish it up here. I think with 3 out of 4 tough games because then they play the Packers again on New Year's Eve on Sunday night, actually. So that'll be a lot of fun. Let's move over to the Packers here, who coming into the season now, and we've been able to see them play for 6 games, and it's or 7 games. Sorry, I'm blanking. Are they 3-3?
They're 2-4.
Yeah, so they did have a bye. My apologies. There was a lot of question marks coming into the season just with Jordan Love and the young receiving core and everything. And I think we're starting to see some of those vulnerabilities of just a young NFL team, Jordan Love's first year as a full starter. And I think a lot of that also has to do is this offensive line is just not consistent overall. I think Aaron Jones is getting a little bit older, and he's been dealing with a hamstring injury as well. And so, and A.J. Dillon and company, they're just not getting the protection up front to help kind of balance this offense. And it feels like it's almost coming a little more one-dimensional with a young receiving core who's maybe still learning and getting their NFL legs, so to say. Mm-hmm. Defensively, I think actually they're not horrible. Even then, too, considering the fact that Jair Alexander hasn't been playing as much. And then there's another guy as well. Devontae Campbell still seems to be hurt. Devontae Wyatt got hurt as well. So they're defensively, they're playing okay, I feel. But offensively, just huge misses overall. And if you go back and look at their schedules coming back, so they beat the Bears. I think everybody came out and was super pumped about that. Lost to the Falcons. Probably should have beat the Falcons, for being completely honest, if it wasn't for a fourth quarter. But then should have lost to the Saints on the flip side if it wasn't for a fourth quarter. And since then, came out flat against the Lions, came out flat against the Raiders for the entire game, came out flat against the Broncos as well, and couldn't come away with the victory. I'm unfortunately starting to see a trend here of just inconsistent play and it's not coming out hot. And that's when I start to wonder then, too, it is going to be a young team, but it's like there's not that fire. And I do start to kind of look maybe a little bit more towards the upper echelon of the team. What are your overall thoughts on the Packers' performance so far this season on what you've seen?
It's been a little lackluster, especially as you mentioned after that start. To me, I think David Bakhtiari going down for the year is a huge loss. He was the cornerstone of that offensive line. And then Jordan Love, he just looks panicked. Like he looks like he knows what to do, but then he's just going through it way too quickly, and then he is scared to get hit. And to be fair, he's one of the most hit quarterbacks in the NFL this year. So I would be scared with 300-plus pound men trying to run after me and slam me to the ground. So, but then I think you look to consistency-wise, like they haven't had guys consistently in the lineup. Like Christian Watson, he came back for 2 games. He's looking like he's going to miss another week or 2 with a knee injury that he sustained in the Broncos game. And him and Romeo Doubs are their 2 most experienced receivers in the NFL. So it's not like they're sitting on these super experienced pass catchers that are just they don't have enough time to get the ball to. Yeah, like they're a very young, inexperienced group, and they're facing some hardships, and sometimes they don't always bounce back the best. And for me, that's what this has looked like, is just a team that they're getting hit in the mouth and they don't really know what to do to fight back just because they don't have the experience.
Yeah. So I will say, kind of, I was a little shocked to look at this because I wanted to bring up some offensive line stats to help out. But what's interesting is actually the Packers, they've only given up 10 sacks this season so far through 6 games. But on the flip side, though, and I'm looking at Pro Football Reference, I can't quickly look it up right now, but to kind of now, I guess maybe this is just like the eye test and everything, but it does feel like they're giving up so many pressures every single game. And that's part of that offensive line problem. But leave a comment down below. I need to double check and see if that is still the case here. Because I'm a little shocked, honestly, it's only been 10 sacks up to this point. But it feels like Jordan Love is under pressure a lot. But then also combined with that can sometimes make just a bad decision. And I think that's going to be part of the growing pains as well. But let's go and get to the game here now. Let's talk about our predictions. But before we do that, if you have not already, like this video and hit the subscribe button to get notified whenever we create new content. Brian and I were trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by Halloween. As of recording of this video, looks like we're about 30 away, so we're almost there. So any help is greatly appreciated. It's also the easiest way to get notified whenever we create new content. Ryan, who do you have winning this game and why?
So I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. I just think they're the hot team right now. And I think you look at what the Packers, like the product that they've put out on the field. Christian Watson is going out with injury again, it looks like. And they just haven't been able to consistently keep guys out there and then kind of build any sort of rhythm. And I think that's why we're seeing them struggle now is like they're going up against these teams that have established rhythm and figured out some things that they're good at this point in the season. And they haven't done that yet. And so I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think they're just the better team. They're hot right now. And they should get this job done here.
I'm also going to go with that as well. Minnesota Vikings, the team that blitzes the most, will absolutely get after this young quarterback in Jordan Love. I think this offensive line is going to be it's going to have a tough day dealing with this Brian Flores defense. Also, too, on top of that, I just think that Minnesota is able to just manufacture points through the air. Still struggling to run the ball. That's very huge, especially too. Another interesting stat as well, though, is the Vikings also are up there when it comes to overalls. Sorry, not overall up there. Oop, I'm on the wrong one. I've given up only 15 sacks so far this season through 7 games, so just 2 sacks a game, which is very interesting. While the Packers have on the season just let me double check this here as right now 16. So sounds like probably Packers will get about 1 or 2 sacks here because that's pretty even for both teams. So that being said, though, I still feel just the way this Vikings offense has been playing over these past this past Monday could build on that momentum. And on top of that, too, I think this Vikings defense is going to provide a lot of pressure. Still possibly could get burned. Still some flaws overall, just backfield talent, in my opinion, of the Vikings, but much improved from last season. But I think they're going to become. I think they're going to walk out victorious through this game, go 4-4 on the season.
Yeah. So we're both going with the Vikings here. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up. If you have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this NFC North matchup. Is it going to be the Minnesota Vikings? Is it going to be the Green Bay Packers? Let us know what you think. Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.